And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
for the cinema review.
It is Monday, June 22nd, 2026, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. Got an exciting show this week. We are going to be reviewing Toy Story 5 as well as The Death of Robin Hood. I said we jump right into the show, starting with our first review of the evening, that being Toy Story 5. This is the fifth entry in the Toy Story franchise. The sixth, if you're counting Lightyear as one of the entries. You really shouldn't. It's not the same character. I don't want to get into that whole hullabaloo as to what happened there. But this is the fifth Toy Story film, and the first directed by Andrew Stanton. Andrew Stanton is one of the main Pixar directors from when the studio first started. He directed Finding Nemo, WALL-E, as well as he helped write every single Toy Story film. And this is the first one he is going to be directing. This one puts Jessie, voiced by Joan Cusack, in the essentially lead role of the cast of toys. She is now the new deputy of Bonnie's toy group. Now that Woody left to work with Bo Peep to essentially just find lost toys if you saw Toy Story 4. And everything is going great with Bonnie. She's still loving her toys, but something changes when her family decides to get her a Lily Pad iPad toy. It's essentially just this movie's version of like a Leapfrog, a Leapfrog toy, except I don't think Leapfrogs really went online. And now Bonnie has the ability to chat with her friends online, play games with them online, and it completely changes the way she socializes and changes the way that she communicates with her groups of friends. And now Jessie is worried that Bonnie might be falling into circles with the wrong people because she just wants to be popular. The Lily Pad, voiced by Greta Lee, believes she has Bonnie's best interest in mind, but Jessie doesn't believe so. So it is up to Jessie and the other toys to essentially find Bonnie some better and closer friends, and hopefully be there along the way with her that share her interest in some ways. I truly believe that the Toy Story franchise is one of the most quality, consistent movie franchises maybe ever. I think the first two movies in specific, first off, they're two of the first movies I ever remember watching from start to finish as a super young kid, probably 2 or 3. Those movies were the first ever movies I watched. I think they're some of the best animated movies ever. I think Toy Story 3 is excellent. I think Toy Story 4 is really, really good. I love all the characters in these movies. I love Jessie. I love Woody. I love Buzz. I love all the side characters, whether it's Slinky or whether it's Rex or whether it's Mr. Potato Head. I think the fun part about this franchise is no movie do I just feel like I'm just hanging out with my friends when I watch these movies, because really, while there are obviously stakes with the characters, because all of them gets into these weird existential issues when it comes to being a toy, which sounds so weird as to how good these movies are. When you really think about it, it's it really just makes you think about how just depressing it must be to really be a toy, and just different ideas with each movie. Real quick, I'm gonna try to fix my camera because I'm coming in a little blurry. Let me see if I can just fix that. Okay, sweet. But yeah, I think each one has a really, really great story to it. I think each one advances the characters in a really strong way. I know some people were disappointed that they made another Toy Story movie after Toy Story 3 because it wraps it up in such a strong way with Andy going off to college. I think both Toy Story 4 and 5 now have given reason as to why these movies exist, because while Andy was an important part of the franchise, it's all we are always following the toys, and the human character is a little bit supplementary. And I really think the reason why this franchise shines so much is because it always just feels so much fun to see our friends and how they've changed over time. And this, once again, is the same way. Our characters are just as likable as they always were. They're still dealing with similar issues. When we open up on this movie, we learn that Bonnie has been has been staging weddings for all of our characters, and she's staging a wedding for Forky, voiced by Tony Hale from Toy Story 4. And Buzz is trying to get the courage to ask Jessie to marry her, because if you've seen Toy Story 2, you know that Buzz has had a crush on Jessie for many, many movies, but has never really told her. So really fun stuff there. But yeah, I think the best thing this movie does is centering the film on Jessie. I think with us now following a young girl instead of a young boy, it there's something sort of special about seeing how like now the main toy is a girl, and Jessie is Joan Cusack has given like some of the best voice performances in these movies in the past, and she just has one of the more unique voices that just feels like it's suited for voiceover compared to a lot of other celebrities. She's able to sell the emotional elements really, really well. Once again, Jessie's feeling just as like dramatic as Woody was in Toy Story 4, where he truly feels like everything we need to do needs to be about Bonnie. We need to protect her at all costs. We need to make sure she is happy. And now Jessie's filling that role. So now she's like, am I capable of really of really protecting Bonnie in this way. Bonnie is, of course, Jessie's third kid, because she had Emily, and then she had Andy, and now she has Bonnie. They get a little bit into the Bonnie stuff, into the Emily stuff from Toy Story 2, which, like, from moment one of this movie, Pixar always knows how to pull at the emotional heartstrings. And this movie is no different, and just everything it gets into there is really, really special. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, centering it on Jessie was a really, really great idea. Greta Lee voices the villain in this movie, Lilypad. I think she gives a really, really great performance. Greta Lee pulls off that like AI Siri-esque voice of like being very unemotional when she says stuff. She feels like you're talking like a customer service robot, but everything she says is something the characters hate. So it just makes it feel so much more annoying. And Greta Lee is able to sell that really, really well. I think Lilypad is actually a really great idea for a villain, because I think, knowing that this movie kind of takes place, I think, around like 2013, if you think about when Andy went off to college and how old Bonnie is now, it makes sense to start adding technology as the new way for kids to be entertained, because that's, of course, what happened in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I think the portrayal of Lilypad is really strong, because it always shows off that Lilypad doesn't want Bonnie to fail. Lilypad is just like the other toys, where she wants Bonnie to have friends. She wants Bonnie to be happy. But at the same time, she doesn't necessarily know how to go about it in the best way. And she thinks that, oh, Bonnie just needs to be popular on a superficial level, not on an emotional level, which is what Jessie learns throughout the movie is, hey, look, you're not just going to find just a random person you're going to be friends immediately. You need to find the right match. And I think there's something really special about that. But yeah, I was really impressed with how like non-villainous the character of Lilypad was, because it could have been so easy to make this piece of technology like the ultimate big bad villain, like there's nothing good. I think what Andrew Stanton says about how technology plays into our role of like building connections and communicating with others, it shows, hey, there's a lot of bad stuff, there's a lot of dark stuff, we should really be regulating that, especially when it comes to kids. At the same time, there are moments where our characters are able to accomplish certain things through the connections that they make online. I think that's really special that the movie was able to like sort of like thread the needle there. That could be very, very challenging, of saying, hey, it's not amazing, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. So I want to give the movie a lot of credit there. Other great performances. Conan O'Brien plays this really, really, I'll just say, a really stupid toy that Jessie meets at this other kid's house when she ends up getting like sort of like whisked away to another kid named Blaze's house. And we learned that Conan O'Brien voices this character named Smarty Pants, who is sort of like this like battery included toy, but that was like a previous generation to Lilypad. So he's like very much like doesn't have all of like the quality of life improvements that the company that made Lilypad made throughout the way. And it is a toy that is specifically meant to help you while you go to the bathroom. It has two buttons, number 1 and number 2, and kids are just supposed to press it when they go to the bathroom. The second we meet this character, the most pathetic toy you can possibly meet. I'm immediately just like, this is the dumbest idea for a toy, but I'm kind of into it. When it starts framing it around all the toilet humor, I was like, is this really all the character is going to be? But man, Conan O'Brien's one of the funniest people alive, and there was just a moment where he just completely won me over with this character, and I had a lot of fun with him. The other voice performance I really want to give credit to is Tim Allen. I think this is maybe the best Tim Allen performance we've seen through any of the Toy Story movies, as well as just being the best use of Buzz since maybe the first Toy Story movie. If you saw that first Toy Story, you know that Buzz is essentially the co-main character with Woody. And as the movies have gone on and on, Woody is obviously the character that has stood in the spotlight throughout all the movies more and more. And Buzz is sort of like slid to the sidelines, where I think maybe one of the weakest things about Toy Story 4 was how it completely underused Buzz. Buzz is all over this movie. Again, one of the big plot threads of this movie is will Buzz have the courage to tell Jesse how he feels, to hopefully stage a wedding that Bonnie puts on. Obviously, movie handles that in a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek way, but it genuinely makes you care because you know how much Buzz cares for Jesse. And without spoiling too much, there is another plot thread that is happening while Jesse is trying to get back to Bonnie. That is happening congruently with the story that involves a bunch of Buzz toys that have just gotten out of their box. And if you know the history with Buzz Lightyear toys, you know that when they first get out of the box, they don't think they are toys and they think that they are in fact real space rangers. Every single scene where you have just a bunch of Buzzes interacting, so funny. You get a lot of really great humor, a lot of great like visual humor, where you're just sort of having like the characters just do like these really like weird kooky things and with zero self-awareness. Really funny there. I think the decision so if you've seen the trailers, you know that Woody does make a return in this movie. I think the movie was wise to keep him in the background and more as a secondary character, because Toy Story 4 very much sort of concluded the story of Woody. He does have a purpose in the film. He is there to help out everything. It's also just so nice to hear Tom Hanks as Woody again. It's just so much fun to hang out with Woody. But I think the decision to commit to not having him be the main character was a really, really strong decision. I do wish the majority of the side characters would have had maybe a little bit more to do. I think in total, Rex, Slinky, and Mr. Potato Head might have like 2 lines in total each, which was a little disappointing in my hand. Just because like those characters were never the main characters, but they're so funny. All those, well, I was about to say all those voice actresses. Unfortunately, Rex voiced by Wallace Shawn is the only one who is still alive with us, because Jim Varney passed away before Toy Story 3. Don Rickles passed away before Toy Story 4. Ham is still there, but again, he's just sort of regulated aside. That was really my one major complaint, was that I wish we would have had a little bit more to do with the side characters. I guess another complaint is maybe like during the second act, I feel like with a lot of these Toy Story movies, you feel like you're retreading certain paths once again, and you feel like you're retreading certain things again. Jessie gets sort of split off from the other toys. We've seen that happen with Woody so many times throughout these movies. She finds herself in a new environment, and she sort of has to decide, like, wait, is this maybe the environment that I want to be in? Do I want to go back to Bonnie? Sort of retread certain paths again. But again, with the execution, I think it handles it in a really strong way. When this movie wants to get emotional, it gets very, very emotional. And in the third act, I don't want to spoil the callbacks it makes to Jessie's past. Maybe one of the more emotional moments in the franchise, where you see Jessie's life with her original owner, Emily, in Toy Story 2. It calls back to that in a really, really strong and impactful way that I was nearly at tears at this moment. Toy Story has brought me to tears many times. I was nearly at it this way, so it was very, very effective in the heartstrings it was pulling. And the last major thing I want to say about this movie is I cannot stress how just truly gorgeous this movie looks. If you go back and watch the older Toy Story films, you can definitely see that they're products of the 90s. The old CG animations, not everything looks like super clean. Not everything looks really pretty. all like just how like the plastic looks on all these toys, how water looks when it like splashes off of plants. It really feels like you're outside or indoors in certain scenes. Just how it like really handles the textures. I think Pixar has gotten so good at making everything feel like, even though it's all CGI, it feels like something you would actually touch and you feel like you are in this world. Even though it is animated, it feels so fully alive because of how much effort and care the animators put into it. And I think that needs to be shouted out. I know I said that was the last thing, but I just wanted to say I really like with Toy Story 4, and specifically Toy Story 5, I think Bonnie is maybe the most like active human protagonist we've seen in these movies. Andy was always just kind of there. He's mainly Toy Story 2 is really just going off to cowboy camp. Toy Story 3 is obviously an adult or going off to college. This one you really feel like, hey, Bonnie's like a normal 8-year-old. She wants to make friends. She has a tough time fitting in. She makes certain choices that while we might not like it, you understand that from her perspective of, I just want to be liked by my friends. You get it. I think her connections with the other characters, it really makes you feel for the character because not a lot of the characters are very nice to her, and you feel really emotional watching her like trying to get along with people, but they just don't want to have time for her. So I think the evolution from Bonnie from Toy Story 4 to Toy Story 5 is really, really good. But yeah, that just about comes to the conclusion of my thoughts on Toy Story 5. Again, I think this is another incredible entry in the Toy Story franchise. I think every time we have a new Toy Story film announced, we're always like, are we sure we want to see this? Like, is this gonna be the first bad Toy Story movie? Definitely was not here. And again, this was a really, really great Pixar film. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely horrible, 10 being absolutely incredible, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. Definitely not my favorite Toy Story movie. I think it's probably like a little bit more than 4, but I think I like 1, 2, and 3 even more than this. But again, it's just so much fun to spend time with these characters and see that one of these stories from a new main perspective with Jessie. Really, really great film. If you are a fan of the Toy Story franchise, I definitely go see this in theaters. You will not be disappointed. And yeah, Pixar keeps proving like even as a lot of their franchises don't have the best track record, Toy Story is the one where they're always like, hey, we are going to put all of our care and effort into this franchise because we are not going to make a bad one. Toy Story 5, very good movie. But I say we jump right into our second review of the night, that being The Death of Robin Hood. This is directed by, I did not put the director's name, and I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly because it's a little tough. I'm so sorry, everyone. The Death of Robin Hood was directed by Michael Sarnowski. He was the director of Pig, as well as A Quiet Place Day One, which I believe came out 2 years ago. If it came out last year, wow, time is really, really starting to affect me in a weird way. But yeah, he is director of those two movies. Two movies I like, and this is a telling of the Robin Hood story. I think most people know the character of Robin Hood. He is a fictional character. He steals from the rich, gives to the poor. This one is an alternate take on the character where we are now following the end. Robin Hood, towards the end of his life, he is much older, and he has essentially turned from his honorable ways of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, where he is just now essentially committing crimes and killing anyone that stands in his way, along with his partner, Little John, played by Bill Skarsgård. Robin Hood is played by Hugh Jackman. And while they are on one of their murderous rampages, one day Robin Hood ends up getting knocked out, and he ends up getting cared by a woman by the name who has a daughter by the name of Margaret. The woman is played by Jodie Comer. Her name is Sister Bridget. She is a prioress, and she is being cared. Who's has a daughter by the name of Little Margaret. And while Robin Hood is being cared for by these characters, he starts to decide, can I change at such an old age? And can I maybe put my life of crime behind me? Watching the trailers, I thought, okay, this is an interesting take on the Robin Hood story. I've seen a lot of stories like this, whether it's like the new God of War games, or whether it's the new Last of Us games, or whether it's even like the John Wick movies, where you have a character that has lived this like extremely intense life doing things they aren't proud of and maybe getting the chance, like the last minute chance of redemption right before they are about to die. And I think the movie does a really great job of committing to the old age of Robin Hood really, really well. This is a character where I don't really have like a ton of like hardcore attachment of like, oh, you need to do these specific things to really be accurate to the story. Just because the story's been around for so long that I don't really like care if like certain inaccuracies are handled. If they are here, I don't really care. I think it handles the idea of someone at the last chapter of their life trying to find a way to change, because I think it's something we all sort of ask ourselves if like I even ask myself this at 28 years old of can I change certain bad habits in my life? And this character Robin Hood seems he's like in his like 60s or something, like asking like, can I change? Can I take all these years of sin and maybe find some sort of redeeming quality in there? I think the movie is I think that movie's theme is the main selling point of this film, and the movie's really committing to exploring those ideas. I think Hugh Jackman gives a very grounded performance as the title character. He's really like stripping away all the theatrics that I think we know of Hugh Jackman. He's one of the more charismatic actors I think we have working today. Also another really great movie that came out early this year with the Sheep Detectives. You haven't seen the Sheep Detectives? Wasn't able to review that movie. Really fun movie. Yeah, this is maybe one of the more unlikable characters I think I've seen him play, just because he is so gruff and so intense with the way with how he believes, how he interacts with Little John. These two characters almost feel like they hate each other at this point because they've been doing jobs and doing crimes for so long. They've just sort of realized like, hey, we're just sort of working with each other out of necessity. And Jackman does a really great job at playing that type of character. Not a part that I think I've seen from him for a while. What I will say, if I were to say there was a performance I was a little disappointed by, Jodie Comer as an actress, I think we need to talk about that Hollywood is just sort of underusing. I think the first time I saw her in movies was in 2021. She was in Free Guy, which is a fun movie. She's fun in it, but she absolutely blew me away in The Last Duel, the Ridley Scott movie, where she essentially gives like 3 performances as the same character, acting out through the exact same scene in 3 different ways from different characters' point of view. That is like one of the better performances of the decade, and like she hasn't been in a ton since then. I really wish more movies would give her the opportunity to really explore her talents in the way that we saw from The Last Duel. While she's in this movie, she's not given a ton to do. She's the character that is just looking after Robin Hood, making sure he's okay. Most of the scenes where Robin Hood is like learning new ways to view the world, or learning new ways to try to live a peaceful life. He's really learning from little Margaret, played by Faith Delaney, who's giving a very, very good child performance. I really just wish Jodie Comer wasn't playing so many like thankless roles like this, because I think she deserves so much better as an actress. The violence in this movie is incredibly brutal. Like if you Michael Sarnowski directed Pig, and if you watch Pig and always wondered like, wow, I really wish this was a movie. Pig is a really excellent Nicolas Cage movie where he plays this chef whose pig ends up getting kidnapped, and he goes on like this quest to try and find his pig. And you watch that movie and wish like, I wish there was a scene where Cage finally went ballistic and killed the people that kidnapped his pig. This is the movie for you, because the violence in this movie is absolutely brutal. You see multiple characters get decapitated, get shot with arrows, get stabbed, get burned alive. The violence is really effective. I will say I think the lighting could have been a lot better, because I think this movie is dark to the point of, not necessarily to the point of aesthetic. It goes past aesthetic to just becoming annoying with how tough it is to see the action and just the characters at certain points in this movie, specifically in the nighttime scenes, where you feel like you're squinting. And like with this movie being so slow paced, we're just watching characters like talk in a really gruff voice to each other, and you're just like trying to squint to see. It really makes like the runtime and just the feeling of the movie. You just feel tired while watching the movie because just the lighting and the pace is just not a good combination. So I definitely wish the movie would have been a little bit better. But when this movie is having like solid action, movie is not afraid to get brutal in really great ways. But yeah, this this is a really tough one to talk about because while I do think it was effective, I think there were just certain tweaks I think could have been made to make it really great. This is definitely while there are action scenes in it, most of the movie is the characters just talking with each other and just walking around nature and vistas. So if that's not really the tone for you, I'm not sure you're really gonna like this movie. But I like this movie enough, and I think with a character like Robin Hood, we're really stretching to find like different ways to tackle that story. I think this one comes at it from a unique enough perspective where I did where I did enjoy what I saw. If I were to rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think this was a good movie. Again, there were certain things that did kind of annoy me about it, but I think for the most part, if you don't go in expecting like a major like action blockbuster and you're going to be getting more of a melodic drama about this guy at the end of his life, I think you're going to like it more. Not one I'd say you have to rush out to see, but if you're looking for something to see this summer, go check out Death of Robin Hood. But that just about does it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing Supergirl as well as maybe Jackass Best in Last. I'm definitely going to be seeing Jackass Best in Last. Not sure I'm going to be reviewing it because maybe it's just going to be tough with how I'm going to be reviewing it. Super excited for that movie. Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.